Welcome, everyone, to episode 12 of the Pinnacle Combat Sports Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jim, and I'm with my boy, Dano. What's going on, Dan? How you doing over there on the East Coast?
Hey, I'm Dan. I'm good. How are you, Jim? That's me. I was doing a thing right there, you know.
I like it. I like it.
Thanks. It was a bit. But doing well, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We had a good week, man. Our Boston Celtics won the championship.
Oh, hell yes. All is right in the world, if you ask me.
Banner
But
18, baby.
I'm biased, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Hey, let me just. I understand this is MMA. We're doing combat sports, but how the fuck can the Los Angeles Lakers piggyback off of the Minneapolis Lakers championships and count them? Do we not know what's going on here with that? You know, how they have their total championships? They're counting the ones when they were in Minneapolis, which makes sense when you're talking about a team called the Lakers, right? Great Lakes, all that. You go to LA. What are you talking about? You guys are all, it's a sham. Anyways, congratulations to the Boston Celtics.
For their
18,
real number
goddamn.
18, yeah.
Yeah, never changed their name. Always been that, you know. But anyway.
And do we count 2020? The bubble? Do we even count that year?
I mean, you can count it, but people feel a certain way about it, but I'll count it. Sure, why not?
All right, we'll give you that one.
It's better than being Minneapolis. But anyway, stop it.
I digress.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, yeah. So what are we gonna count the Maine Red Claws championships if they ever win them? But anyway, let's talk fights, Jim. We got a lot going on.
Oh, we got a big weekend coming up. Oh man, we're excited. But before we get to tomorrow's exciting Abu Dhabi Saudi Arabia. It's not Abu Dhabi.
Saudi Arabia, yes, sir. Yep.
First ever Saudi Arabia card on ABC. Before we get to that, a couple things in fight news this week. The big one, I guess, the big announcement, which I don't know if you consider it big, but people care, so we'll talk about it, is Jake Paul decided to, I guess, have a warm-up fight before the Mike Tyson fight in November, and he decided to fight Mike Perry, the king of bare knuckle. What do you think about that, Dan?
And it's boxing, right?
Yeah, I think it's 8 rounds. I have it up here. Yeah, 8 rounds.
What size gloves?
Ooh, I don't know if it says that on this thing I have up. Probably, I don't know, whatever they normally use. Why do they change that?
I would just figure if I was Perry, I would fight for a small glove as possible. Because, man, it's like Mike Perry is a talented fighter. He's a beast. He's just a absolute savage of a person as far as a fighter. But when it comes to like MMA, there were certain guys that were a little more technically skilled, and it showed. And then I feel like that's going to be kind of the similar thing with boxing. And I'm not saying my feelings about Jake Paul. I don't think he's anything special. I think he's a big guy fighting smaller guys that has good power. He's not like he doesn't know how to fight, but I don't know. I just kind of see I just see him fighting a lot of guys that fought at 170. Like I stood next to Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley's not that big of a guy. I feel like he was just picking those guys that are like Nate Diaz was probably the biggest fighter he fought.
Yeah.
Like out of those MMA guys. So like Mike Perry's, it's a little bit of a step up, but it's like I just feel like I think he's gonna be able to beat Mike Perry, to be honest.
I think the most exciting thing for me about this is just all the shit talking that's gonna happen.
Oh,
the press conferences, and I think, obviously Mike Perry is not gonna back down. He's gonna come at him like a rabid animal, like he always does. So that's gonna be fun to watch. So
that's not a like I'll root for Mike Perry the entire time. I want Mike Perry to win. But what I'm saying is it's more just like I feel like Jake Paul between his power and his be able to just understanding what he knows as far as boxing, he's still in an advantage against Mike Perry in a boxing realm.
Yeah,
as
technically
opposed
speaking,
to
yeah.
absolutely. Where if they fought bare knuckle, man, that's not. I don't think that's a contract that Jake Paul would want to sign. He can say whatever he wants to,
No, definitely.
but like I've watched that Mike Perry in that square fighting those bare knuckle fights. That's a different problem to solve.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, there's something else going on there.
But I think
Because
you're
it
right.
fits perfectly to his style and the way he fights and who he is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nuts. He's like a rabid Wolverine
Very
out
much.
there.
100%.
But I think you're right, though. I think, you know, I agree. I don't think. I think Jake Paul is a good boxer. We'll put it that way.
Yes.
He's a
Yes.
good boxer. He's an average good
He is.
boxer, and he's got good
Yep.
power.
Yep.
But with that
He's a
said,
big dude.
he knows angles. He knows he knows what he's doing out there. It's not like he's just out there with putting his fists up and ready to go. Like there's thoughts behind what he's doing, and he's
For sure.
a good boxer. So when
He's
Mike
been
Perry,
trained by real boxers. He's been
Yeah.
trained by real boxers. So, yeah, 100%.
so when Mike Perry comes head first at him, and he, uses his angles, and he's going to catch
Yeah,
him at least
exactly.
a couple times. So
that's how I'm thinking.
I'm
But
just
you
more
never know.
excited for the shit talking, man. It's going to be crazy. That some shit's going to go down.
For sure.
Yeah.
You never know. Like, Jake Paul doesn't have a ton of experience in boxing itself as well. So it's like, if he doesn't land that shot he needs or he wants at that time, like you said, Mike Perry's going to go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So he is a problem to deal with if you can't get rid of him, or at least, like maybe something that to the naked eye we don't see. But if there's just, how it is, all these like fights, just one shot can sting someone where you might not see them as hurt, but the entire fight they're probably in an autopilot and they're hurt.
Yeah.
We don't know, but it's just like, just one of those things.
It's one thing too, like, just here's some respect to Jake Paul. Like, the only one that has anything to lose in this fight is Jake Paul.
Yeah.
He didn't
100%.
have to take this fight at all. And if he loses, what is that?
I like that he did. I like that he took this one.
Yeah, and it's a fun one. It's like a fan.
Yeah.
It's a fan fight, and I like that. I think it's cool, and I
because I want to like him, man. Because like I see the people he talks to. Like you see him hanging out with O'Malley and doing like those ads and shit.
Yeah.
Like, he's probably a cool dude if you talk to him. So like, you want to root for a guy like that, but it's just like you already made it to the point you're at. You can kind of like shed that other bullshit. As far as like that like troll bullshit, like you already have established yourself. Now just continue to become what you are, and then add levels to that. Like I don't get the whole like you can get rid of that whole facade now because you are established.
I think this piggybacks off of what we were talking about last week, where me and you are very traditionalist when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
And I think the way Jake Paul came up in boxing is not at all, obviously, the traditional route in paying your dues and going through like actual real boxers. And he just kind of had the fame and money to like point out a guy that he knew he could beat and, put on these spectacular shows. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's hard to like someone like that, but I know what you're saying. He seems like he'd probably be a cool guy if you just hang out with him.
He probably would be. But like maybe as time goes on, I'll end up rooting for him. But I mean, it's not like I'm really not like a real hater. That's awesome that he does what he does and is able to do what he make what he makes and does. Like that's awesome. Like that's not relevant at all. It's more just like you said. I think it's more like you said, being a purist and a traditionalist to it. It's a different kind of feel. It comes off kind of like you feel kind of gross.
Yeah.
For wanting to root, but it's like, no, it's not coming from like a real hating perspective where it's like, that's awesome. Like imagine
Yeah.
what a life, dude. Like that, that's great.
I saw this video before we move on. I think they did like I don't know what show it was, but they like talked face to face over like FaceTime or whatever it was. And Mike Perry said, "You're gonna get married to my fist." Right? Like Jake Paul goes, I do. I do. It was pretty good. So I'm looking forward to a month more of that. It's going to be good.
Plus, it's like you don't really know the truth to it, but I remember I don't even know when it was. If it was a year ago, if it was 2 years ago, but and I'm assuming they sparred on a boxing
Oh, yeah,
basis,
yeah.
but they had sparring sessions,
Yeah, they did.
and
Yep.
I don't take Mike Perry as a liar, and he seemed like Jake Paul was getting the better of him in them.
Yeah.
When it happened, like right after it happened, I remember him speaking about it. And that doesn't mean, you never know. He could have been being humble. He could have been holding back. You don't. There could be so many variables to it.
Well,
You just don't know.
also a lot has changed since then for Mike Perry.
Yes, sure.
And you know,
Same Jake Paul. Jake Paul's a better version of himself as a fighter.
yeah, for sure.
Compared to then as well, you know. So,
but Mike Perry's going to come in with way more energy than a sparring match.
plus he's
It's
crazy.
way different. Yeah, it's way different.
You might think you're crazy. People might think they're crazy. You're not Mike Perry crazy. And that, I mean that with the utmost respect.
He reminds
That's like
me
a
of
compliment.
the MMA version of the Sandman from ECW. Have you ever seen the Sandman? I know you weren't a
I
big
have not.
wrestling guy,
No, not really
but
wrestling. Yeah.
he would come out to Enter Sandman by Metallica, and he would
Okay.
walk out through the crowd with a kendo stick and a bunch of beers, and he would just chug beers like Stone Cold, and then he would smash the beers cans against his head. He'd be bleeding before he even got in the ring. That's who I think Mike Perry is.
There are a lot of fighters that say they like to be hit and they like to realize
Yeah.
they're in the fight and they like to get going. Maybe that's his version of it. He's like, all right, I'm ready before I'm in there.
Yeah,
You know, like, don't knock it till you try it.
yeah.
But
Well, we'll see. And this fight's taking place July 20th, the original date for
same date. That's cool.
same date, in Tampa, Florida. So I think tickets are on sale if anyone's in the Tampa area or not, just really likes Jake Paul and wants us to fly out, buy tickets. But let's move on. The other big thing these past couple weeks has been obviously the return or not return of Conor McGregor. And I just saw this. I saw this either today or yesterday, but he released pictures of his broken pinky toe, which took him out of UFC 303 next week. I guess first of all, I mean, I don't know. What do you think of that? A broken pinky toe.
Me toe was a balloon. Yeah, no, it's see, that's the thing though. Like, if he didn't talk as much as he talked about other fighters for their pulling out of fights and things and like that, it wouldn't mean anything. But when you do so much as talk about this fighter for pulling off of that ankle injury or that foot injury or that, like, you don't really know what's going on in the camp. You don't know how close it came to the camp. It could happen a week before you're gonna make your final cut. Like, it could happen in different. It's about when it happens. Like, if it happens like 6 weeks out, that's whole different than happen a week or two or whatever out. Like, I feel like the timing's more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really don't know what to think of it. Like, it's like, that's the only thing I wanted to point out because it's important, because he would always talk shit about anyone else who'd pull off or whatever. It's just like, it's kind of like it's one of those karma things. It sucks, but the UFC's better when Conor McGregor has a fight going every year or whatever. Like, when he's involved and on the active roster, UFC's in a better space. But it's also true, I've heard other people say, it's like the game will be fine without him. It's been fine with him, without him, before him, after him. It'd be fine. It is what it is. I mean, it's like, I just don't know if we're gonna see him fight again. I don't. It just doesn't feel like it. It's gonna happen. Like, why? Like, what's the incentive? I just don't see. Like, what do you think? I'm curious as for, like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess, well, that was the next thing I was going to talk about, but, I mean, while we're here, we might as well do it, is, I guess it really depends on what Chandler wants to do.
He's got to move on. I think he said he wants to, but
I think we talked about that last week. we both think he should move on to another fighter, especially if there's something that could line up pretty well. And I know some people have been trying to bait him into a BMF title shot or title match against Holloway, which would be awesome, fun to watch. And he's been like hinting at that a little bit, on Twitter or whatever, but that would be something to move on for. As far as the toe injury, like I think Rose Namajunas pulled out of a fight for a broken toe or foot or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, as long as I can walk out to the octagon, I want to fight.
Yeah.
And I think the commission told her she couldn't or something like that.
Which would make sense because I believe when there was the way Conor was talking in the press conference, he said there was something that was out of my control. So maybe he already knew that the fight was going to be
maybe
canceled. Just the way he was talking, it seemed like it was. You don't know how to make heads or tails of it, but when someone's saying that, you're like, huh. So that is kind of interesting. But I mean, either way, it's unfortunate. But like you said, let's just say he does get granted that BMF title, because honestly, I don't think Holloway should fight Topuria for that. We can get into that another time, but I don't think Topuria should be anywhere near a fight like that yet. Like, you got to win a fight or two, and there's so many fighters at 145.
Yeah.
Whether you know of them or not, they're going to emerge quick because now they know who the target is. So like, they will be there'll be plenty of competition at 145. 145 is a Shark Tank, so there'll be plenty of that. So as far as until that happens, that would make sense to me, because imagine I'm picking Holloway to win that fight, but let's just say Chandler wins. Chandler jumps on the mic and he's like, Conor, you still want that fight? I'm right here. You want this belt? Come get it. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah. And there's your incentive right there.
Exactly. Because as far as Chandler, if you ask Chandler will look you dead in the eyes and he thinks that's a fight he wins. So why would he shy away from it?
That would build a Conor Chandler fight even more. That'd be
absolutely
pretty wild. But he's got to get through Holloway to write that story, which is not an easy.
Like I said, I don't pick him to win it, but
yeah.
But if he does, it's one of those things. So you just never know with the way MMA is. MMA is a wild game. So
yeah, and you know what you were just saying about the press conference and everything, and how he's saying that it's out of his control. Now that I think back on it, knowing what the injury was, they must have known they were going to pull the fight, because
I feel that way.
If they thought he could if they thought he could heal up in time, they would have still done the press conference. They could have had him come in. He could have walked into the press conference and no one would have known about his toe.
No
right?
One would know. Yeah.
I mean, so, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting though. I mean, we don't have to, we're going to beat a dead horse, but like, because we talked about this last week, but like, I do want to see the fight.
I do too.
I feel for Chandler, and I want him to make the best of, how much time he has left in this game. And I don't think waiting around for Conor is the best thing to do right now. But I'm not his team, and I'm not a fighter, and I'm not Michael Chandler, so take that for what it is.
Not for his next fight. Not for his next fight. Like I said, that I think the biggest thing would be like even if Conor doesn't take a next fight, and if his next fight is Chandler needs to get a fight in between here, because he's too active for this waiting around. Like that's we like you said, we get into the weeds about that whole thing, but I think the worst thing you can do if you want to be a top tier fighter is wait around. Like people always say, like, well, what about your position? What about fighting the right? No, I think way more important is being active. And the longer you set out, the worse.
Another thing is, when Chandler came into the UFC, we were all excited because he was such an active fighter before.
Yeah.
Like, he was a big star, a very, very talented fighter that fought all the time, that would fight anybody. And now, like, we don't even get to watch him fight because of all this,
Yeah, we don't want that. You don't want that. So, in a good way. It's good to keep it all moving. Like, plus it's like I said, it's like I'm not even. I feel like most MMA fans will probably agree that that card is looking better now than it did before.
Yeah. Actually,
Like,
I talked to one friend of mine who disagrees, but only
that's
because
fine.
it's Conor McGregor. He's, I don't know how long he's been watching. I mean, he makes a good point. I mean, like, if you
I
want to
get
sell
it.
tickets, it does really good for the sport. Like you just said, when Conor has a fight, it's really good for the UFC. And I agree. I think there would be probably a little bit more excitement going in if Conor still had a fight. Just because of like the pageantry of the whole thing, and I'm sure he'll have like he would have had some cool like walkout or something, like it changes the energy a little bit with him on the card. But I mean, I agree in terms of fight talent wise and matchup wise, it's better now. And I even told him that. I was like, no, I'm like, I want to
Well,
see Conor fight, but this is a better card for sure.
yeah, I mean, like he's not wrong. He's probably right. And when it comes to like most people
Mm-hmm.
viewing it, but it's like, so even if the main event was still McGregor Chandler, if they had the co-main event be Ortega and Lopez, that's the fight I'm looking forward to the
Yeah.
most.
Yep.
So now that that's the co-main event, and we still get a main event of Pereira and Prohaska the rematch, who like that's the thing too. Prohaska could easily knock out Pereira.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes with these guys that big, that dangerous, that much of a knockout art. Like Prohaska can, especially with the way he throws crazy, like weird shots
Yeah.
with weird power. And I'm not saying that I'm picking him. I'm just saying like we could be looking at a rubber match for that. But it's like that co-main event, man, is just I can't wait for that. That's my new favorite fight to look forward to because before, unfortunately, we'll get into it in a few minutes here, but before it was Whitaker Chimaev was the fight this month for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
which I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure you probably even agree. That was my favorite fight this month.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Yep.
So I'm bummed about that, but we can get into it now if you'd like, Jim.
Well, one thing else I wanted to mention while we were talking about 303 is we have yet another change to the card. And I
True.
know you've heard about this. Anthony
Yeah.
Smith is now going to fight.
Yep.
What's his name? Roman
Another
Dolides?
Dolidze,
Dolidze.
a fella from Georgia, the country, not the state.
Atlanta?
Welcome to Atlanta, where the play. No, I don't think it's that.
So this fight has changed 4 times now.
That's
Because
crazy.
originally Jamal Hill was supposed to fight Roundtree,
Yes,
and Roundtree had to pull out because of a tainted
his
supplement.
taint hurt his taint.
And then so they put in Ulberg, and then Jamal Hill had to bounce because of some injuries that he figured I don't know, I can't remember exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then Anthony Smith jumps in, and then Ulberg
Just
is
got hurt.
some kind of injury, and now
Yep.
Dolidze comes in. This is crazy. And good on Anthony Smith and all these guys that just take these fights like without like he's got 1 week now to train for this guy.
Oh, Anthony
And
Smith's a gangster.
there's no
He doesn't give a shit.
training. He can't train now because, it's in it's in where is it?
It was in Vegas, right?
It's in Vegas? Okay.
I believe so. Yeah,
I know Abu Dhabi's coming up. We got Saudi Arabia. Everything's it's confusing.
a lot.
But yeah, I mean his training camp's over, if there was one to begin with, because he so it's just kind of just watching tape and kind of figuring out what he might bring to the table and just
Kind of
rolling
good.
with the punches when he get in there.
Sure. It's a very interesting fight because I think Dolidze really likes he's more grappling heavy as well. I think. I mean, I know he's got power. He hits hard. I get that, but like I think ideally he kind of likes to get that fight to the ground and kind of use top control with submissions and things.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, but I mean, you kind of just a lot of times these guys when they're at 185 and 205, they kind of like their game plan takes them to a knockout where they're not really looking for it. Like I think that's kind of how he fights. So I think this could kind of favor Anthony Smith because Delice's not like overly quick. He's not like a fighter who's gonna like put like punches and bunches together. So I feel like that could favor a guy like Anthony Smith who's trying to time something to get the fight to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a much better fight for him as opposed to Olberg, who's more explosive, fast, much more of a knockout artist. I think it's a much more dangerous fight. But then again, I think Delice is a little better on the ground, so it's kind of curious to see how that goes.
Yeah,
You know how that is too. You got guys who they're only good on the ground when they're at top control. If they're on their back, they really just don't know what to do. So
yeah,
you never know. But what are you thinking about that one? What was your first impression?
I don't really know Delice very well. I don't know. I might have seen him once or twice, but it's been a while.
He's a relative newcomer. I mean, he's been around a bit, but he's fought some good names in the division for sure. Like a lot of good names.
I will say I was very impressed with Anthony Smith's last performance. And I was kind of done with Anthony Smith before that fight. I didn't have much confidence in him, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And he proved me wrong. He fought a great fight and won, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing him fight again now. He's kind of back on my radar. So I'm rooting for Anthony Smith.
Nice.
So yeah, that's all I got for that. But
I mean, you figure he's fought some like the top names in the division. Like you were speaking of Anthony Smith, and then as far as Delice goes, man, he's fought some real good names. You know Imavov, who just fought, was it a weekend against Cannonier a weekend or two ago?
Yep.
So he has a majority decision loss to him. Close decision to him. He has a decision loss to Marvin Vettori, who we know how good he is.
Yeah.
He's right up there. Then he also has a knockout win against Hermanson. So it's like that's his last three right there. So he's right in that mix as far as the talent he's fighting is. Put it this way, it is like you said, it is a tough fight to take on a week or two. Like props to Anthony Smith. That's what these type of guys do. It's just another opponent. Like you figure if you're a guy if you truly want to fight for a title, why would you worry about anyone who doesn't hold the title? Yeah. I'd be like, well, I should beat that guy because he doesn't have the title. So that's the mentality you got to carry. Yeah.
If your reference point's at the top and you're training for that guy every week,
100%.
then why would you ever be scared of number 5? Or whatever it might be.
Yep.
That's a good point, yeah.
That's what I've always that was like the number one reason why I always liked Chuck Liddell. Like whether the fights happen the way they were supposed to happen or they're sad, I don't know, man. I'm not behind the scenes, but like what I always heard was that was his mentality. That's why he took fights. When Tito Ortiz was ducking him, that's why he would take fights that he shouldn't have took. But he's like, well, if I don't beat that guy, then I don't deserve the fight for the title anyway. So like,
yeah,
that's kind of why. Like I always liked that when fighters were like that. So
yeah.
But man, 303's 303 looks great to me. I love that card, dude.
Well, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that next week, obviously. But what about tomorrow? Let's talk about tomorrow in Saudi Arabia. Let's start with
tomorrow's one of my favorites.
Let's just start with the main event. I know it's not the fight that we wanted, but
a little bit of a sting.
Robert Whittaker and Ikram Aliskerov. What do you think?
I mean, Aliskerov is super talented. It's gonna be a great fight. I'm a huge Whittaker fan, so I'm 100% team Bobby Knuckles, but
the Reaper.
Yeah, I know. The Reaper is his real nickname, but goddamn, Bobby Knuckles sounds so. I think that sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But no, I'm looking forward to this fight. It's a great fight because it's funny. It's coincidentally enough, Alaskarev's only loss was to Hamzat Chimaev, who had to pull out. Hopefully, he comes back 100%. Guy's just like, I swear to God, it's almost like he's too tough for his own good.
Also,
like, I feel like that's why he's getting like hurt.
Apparently,
sick.
It was
like,
food poisoning.
That was the rumor. They shot that down. Like, I kind of feel like I'm kind of inclined to say no, because I feel like I don't think food poisoning would have put him in that type of. I don't know. I know he had, like, when he had his issue with COVID, he had it bad.
Yeah.
Because that when it's respiratory, you just never know, man. That it has nothing to do with anything other than just, what you. I mean, geez, it's respiratory. Like, what else do you need to say? Like, you just don't know. You can't predict. So I kind of wonder.
He's maybe got like a weakened immune system or something. Like, things are affecting him more for whatever reason.
I swear he's just too tough for his own good. Yeah. I just feel like most people have a threshold where he probably doesn't even feel that. And then he goes to a level where people never really go for the most part. And then, like, I really do think it's that. I just think there's certain people that are just different. I think he's one of them. It'd make it seem like it's like you're like talking bad about him. It's like, no, I think he's that, like, special of a mentally strong. Like, I think he's insane.
He's just a savage.
As far as an athlete, yeah, seriously.
He's too much of a savage. You need to calm down, buddy.
He needs someone to protect him from himself.
Yeah.
As far as, like, you got to be like, brother, you got to make it to the fight. Forget about this. This means nothing. Yep. You already know you can do this. So just get your cardio to a level where you know you can maintain it. And then, like, I understand it's hard to tell someone who wants to just push. Mm-hmm. So how can you say that? But, it's about just knowing how skilled and how talented you want to get to that fight.
Yeah.
You just want to make it to the fight. Because, man, this was what a fight that would have been, man.
Ugh.
I don't know if it's going to happen now. But I mean, it puts Alaskarov in a great spot, because if he can somehow upset Whitaker, which is like, he could. He's very talented in his own right. If he ends up going out and beating Whitaker, you can get on that mic and be like, now I'll get the Chimaev rematch.
Yeah. It
makes all the sense in the world if you're him. It's a good decision if you're him. It's a big fight. But that's a tough ask, man, because like, I'm a huge Whitaker fan. Just as far as, like, just MMA talent, like, toughness, built to do what he does, and then as far as his technical ability, like, Robert Whitaker is just, like, top level of, like, he's phenomenal, man.
Yeah,
does everything well.
Have you ever watched any of I haven't watched much of it yet, but Mighty Mouse does a videos online.
I got to start watching his
on YouTube or whatever,
more.
Right? He just did. I saw a little short of him, like a clip of whatever video he put out recently about Whitaker, and just showing his, like, fight IQ and knowing what Paulo Costa was gonna do, and, like, protecting himself and all that. Like, he really pointed out he did a great job, and I got to watch more of his stuff because it was really good.
I do too. That, like I've always told you about him. Like, one of my guys, shout out to him. That dude's a man. Dan Hardy always did phenomenal breakdowns.
Oh yeah,
especially when he was with the UFC. He was so good at those. Like, some of the best breakdowns that still to this day have been his breakdowns. When he would do certain there was a certain one he did when he was breaking down. Because we talked about it a couple episodes ago about how sharp McGregor was against Eddie Alvarez that night.
Yeah,
and he was showing about just the way he put it, his foot placement, where he would get his feet in a spot, and then he would just do that just a little sidestep where he's just all of a sudden 2 or 3 feet closer, and then Eddie Alvarez thinks he's like, just like little things like that, and then Eddie Alvarez thinks he's 2 feet away further than he was, and he's 2 feet closer, and then that's all it takes. So it's just like little things like that. So it's really cool to see little shuffles and little, like, footwork.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I got to watch more of Mighty Mouse's stuff, because, man, talk about, pound for pound.
Yeah, and
pound for pound.
Just fight IQ and talent, and I mean, he's still kicking
because it
ass.
had to be. Because it had to be.
Yeah.
Because it's like he'd be the first one to tell you. It's like he has a ton of physical attributes, but it's not like he has dominant physical attributes over people. He just has he's just a very talented person as far as the skill set goes.
Yeah, he's a
But
different level.
But there's nothing that's physically imposing or physically different about him than any normal person. That's what's so amazing about a guy like that.
Besides
that's just
maybe
hard work. That's just reps.
Speed would be the only thing he has.
But that's probably just from hard work and reps.
Yeah.
Like it's just the coach he had. Like it was a perfect storm for him.
Yeah, it's not like other fighters in his weight class don't have speed. They're all pretty fast, and even the top echelon guys are just as fast, probably.
Yeah. Like one of the craziest. I'm blanking on his name, but before we move on to that fight, we got to give props to his coach. God, I'm blanking on what's his head coach's name?
Who's Mighty Mouse's?
Yeah, because he's a legend too. God damn it, he fought over. It was like Pancrase or Pride or, God damn it. I feel terrible for not even being able to get it right away.
Who's that?
Who? David Stoudemire.
That's a different Mighty Mouse. That's a different Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, Demetrius Johnson's
head coach. Matt
Hume.
Matt Hume. Yeah, Matt Hume.
Hume. Dude, Matt Hume, absolute pioneer and a gangster. So it's like you get a guy like that as your head coach who he was just any weight. He was just one of those guys back in the day where there was really no just the kind of the rule set and the skill. It was all like kind of loosely based. So it's kind of like whatever you sign to. Huh. So that dude was the man.
They called him the Wizard.
Yeah. No, I mean, as far there's Mighty Mouse is about as humble as it gets. So he would tell you too. Like as far as like, there's no real surprise or shock as to why Demetrius Johnson is so technical. A lot of that has to do with Matt Hume.
Evolve.
So it's just, it's just one of those things, man. Like you figure the hours they put in together. But Mighty Mouse was always one of my favorites, man.
All right, well, let's get back to the card.
Sorry. Ramble.
Yeah, we always go off on little tangents. It's good. It's good tangents. This is all fun stuff.
Got to give respect. Got to do a flashback of him one of these times, for sure.
Oh, Mighty Mouse. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
God damn, get that mouse trap.
Co-main event, Sergey Pavlovich and Alexander Volkov. This is going to be crazy. This one's not going the distance. Right?
Yeah. I can't really argue that one. You figure Pavlovich he probably really wants to get one back because his last fight was
Aspinall?
Aspinall, right?
Yeah.
So he had goddamn Aspinall was on fire that night.
Yeah, he was.
But so Pavlovich was kind of on his own run. He figured he probably wants to get one back. Volkov's not an easy guy to get that back off. And Volkov is a very good striker in his own right, so very big guy too. Figured I don't know what Pavlovich. I know Volkov is 6'7". What is Pavlovich? He's a big fella. So 6'3". Wow.
He's 6'3". Yeah.
6'7", 6'3". Some big fellas. 80-inch reach for Volkov. 84 for Pavlovich.
Dang.
That's a great co-main. It's a great main card. That's a great co-main, man. I really like that one. Leaning towards Whitaker, like we mentioned, and I'm leaning towards Pavlovich to get that one back.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yep.
Yep.
And then we got.
You figure that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the next fight we got is Kevin Gastelum and Daniel Rodriguez, which was supposed to be welterweight, but Kevin Gastelum couldn't make it, so they decided to go with middleweight.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Remember Kevin Gastelum was gonna move down?
Yeah,
he was trying to move down. I thought it would take him longer. If he's gonna want to move down, he's got to do what Jose Aldo did, really take his time with it.
Yeah, you figure he's one of those ones that's a good case for that those weight class changes. I really wish they had every 10 pounds. I really think it would be huge.
Yeah.
Um, you figure a guy like Gaslam, I feel like his optimal weight could be like 175. And it's not like you want to make anything tailor made for people, but it's like I also do feel like you have a lot wasted between 155 and 170 as far as talent goes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a lot you could have there. You could have a 155, 165, 175, and I just feel like it would just be. I mean, the talent in that weight range is absolutely untapped. I think.
Yeah.
It's only going to grow, but I did not know that about that. So that's interesting. You wonder who that favors. Daniel Rodriguez is just he's just a tough fighter, man. Like I think he was sparring partner of Joe Schilling in his day, so
Ooh, yeah.
I think that's who he came up with. Um, he's like he's just a tough. I believe he's southpaw. Um, he's just one of those guys when you're watching him at the weight he fights at, you feel like he should be a weight class above it.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you watching him, you're like, because I believe he's also fought at 170. You're kind of watching him, you're like, he doesn't look like he's been 170 in the last several weeks. Like I don't know, he just looks like a big guy. So it'll be I'm kind of interested to see how that shows, because Gaslam's also not, as far as his frame goes, he's not a big guy. So, I mean, he might put on more weight than 185 at that weight, but I just feel like Daniel Rodriguez can hold that weight in a more natural way. Kind of curious to see what that looks like tomorrow.
And if Kelvin had a rough weight cut trying to get down to
that too,
170, it could affect how he fights.
He's so talented, man. That's why it's like it's one of those ones where you just, you know, you don't you can't speak too much on something you just don't know anything about, but it's like you just wonder how, I don't want to say how serious, but you can train as hard as you possibly can, but it's like anything, but people say you really can't out train a bad diet. If you're not eating correctly,
yeah,
it might not show in your training sessions and in your fights even, but once you meet these top echelon guys in the weight class that you're fighting in, that could be your difference, and you don't even know.
Yeah, and it's
Different,
just like
you know.
it's just like anything when you like, if you watch any like sports documentaries of like even team sports like championship winners or whatever, like especially come fight week, everything's got to align. And I feel like when you start out with a team, you kind of have a good, and again, like you said, I'm not the one to be talking about this because I don't know, but I would
Sure.
imagine that, let's say you got a new team. Your team has probably done this, a handful of times, whatever it might be. And you have like a certain mindset going in what you guys are going to do and how all your ducks have got to be in order. The stars have to align for that fight week so that you go into fight night with all the confidence. You feel your best. Everything's working in tip-top shape. And like every fight is kind of like trial and error. Okay, well, I think that didn't work last time. So why don't we try something a little different this time? You just tweak it until it's perfect and you get that perfect mindset and energy and everything going into it. And it doesn't even have to be weight cut. It could just be like, hey, you know what? I don't want my girlfriend around. It's just going to be a distraction. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. Whatever. Maybe it's something
She
small like
complains
that.
too much.
Or maybe it's maybe I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? Like weather. Sometimes I would imagine weather could be a factor. I know as dumb as that might sound, but I'm trying to find something small like that. Like if you have, I don't know,
But
if you have like a rainy week, and you're in,
it's just like,
New York City, it's raining all week, and you just feel like today sucks. I don't have the energy I'm not at tip-top condition because, I don't know, I'm just kind of, the rain's bumming me out. And that seems so dumb, but it could be something like that too.
For sure. And you tell people, it's like, well, hey, listen, man, when you have a bad day at work, you just have a bad day at work. For me, I lose brain cells. So like,
yeah,
you gotta, like, when I'm training for this fight, I gotta, like, this is the only thing I gotta be thinking about. I can't be thinking about anything else. So it's like, you need the right type of people in your corner for that. Because there are a lot of people that be selfish and, like, you've dated people over the years, you've been friends with people over the years, and like they only want what they want at that time. If you can't provide that, then there's a problem where it's like you need someone who's just going to be completely go with the flow, and it is what it is. Oh, you can't hang on now? That's fine. Well, hang on when you can. I mean, I know you're after a certain goal. It's very specific.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you need to find someone who's very understanding of that. So that's got to be a tough thing.
Yeah, your team has to be selfless.
Yeah.
You know?
Very much so. Very much so. In all ways. The whole team. Whether it be your girlfriend or your wife or and like you said, training, anyone involved in your training or your coaches.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to like make it seem like a girlfriend's distracting. Because honestly, some of these teams, they might want, maybe that helps. I know like Rose always has Pat Barry in her corner. Like that helps her, like I know she's like his coach, he's her coach and everything, but that dynamic helps them.
Well, they're both fighters, so it's like it's different, but it's also it's one of those things where you take someone, it's like it's not a knock on like the girlfriend per se, but it'd be more like you have to understand what you're signing up for. You have to understand who you're choosing as the person you want to spend time with. Like that, it's a very unique thing.
Yeah.
So like, there's no wiggle room to, like, I just feel like you gotta be if you're gonna be anything, you gotta be motivating.
Yeah, all these decisions could decide whether or not I go to the hospital tonight.
Exactly. It's very serious. So yeah.
All right, so next one, Shara Magomedov and Antonio
Chara Bullet.
What do you think?
Big favorite, huh?
Huge favorite. Undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, absolute beast. He's such a talented striker for someone who has one eye.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think. I'm gonna have to watch him tomorrow. I'm trying to think of which eye he leads with normally. Which is like either way, it's crazy, right? Like,
yeah.
If your lead hand has the deaf eye, what an idiot I am. If your lead hand has the eye that's blind, or actually, the back, it's like either way, man.
Technically, I hear one of your eyes always has like better vision, so you do technically, I think, have a lead eye.
What happens if one doesn't work at all?
Well, then you have a lone eye.
Yeah, the lone dude. That's so crazy.
The lone wolf.
I mean, talk about. I mean, wow. To be an undefeated professional MMA fighter, 12-0, 10 wins via TKO or KO.
Dang.
Like, and you have one eye. It's insane. I honestly don't know much about his opponent. Because this is definitely his second or maybe third, but definitely second opponent.
Yeah, I think wasn't it this week? I think it was like 3 days ago. Where's this dude from?
It was a dude out of Germany or something, I believe. The last opponent. By way of somewhere else, but I believe it was like a German flag. And then
Trocoli's from Brazil.
Yeah, Trocoli from Brazil. But that's I mean, he's a 6'5" middleweight.
I think it was on 3 days' notice because Dana White called him up and he's like, "All right, I'll be on the plane tonight," and he just like flew to Saudi Arabia.
So it's a 6'5" middleweight, man. We'll see. He's got a long, big reach. He's got a 7-inch reach advantage.
Their stare down looked intense.
I have to check it out. I haven't checked any of that out yet.
I put it on the Instagram, so yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll check it out because I just threw on PFL as soon as I got home.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't checked out the weigh-ins yet. But yeah, no, it's that I'm looking forward to that one because I just feel like even though he's a big favorite, I feel like that fight could be a little more competitive, especially early on in
I
the first
agree. I
round and a
agree.
half.
Yep.
Um, we're talking about competitive. The next fight I feel like is going to be very competitive. It could be Johnny Walker and Volkan Oezdemir.
Yeah, the odds are super close. I agree. I think this fight's going to be. This is actually a really great fight. This is like
Very much a pick 'em.
a very pick 'em fight. Very much, very similar style. Ozdemir, who did he fight last time? I was really impressed with Ozdemir, even though he lost.
He
Who did he
did
fight?
look good.
He looked
Let's see.
really good. He fought
Well, no, his
Guskov.
last fight he
No.
beat Guskov.
So wait,
He beat him though.
who was I thinking of then?
I think you're thinking of Nikita Krylov, the second to his second to last fight. He lost to him, but I feel like that might have been the one he looked good in because it was
Yeah.
the same card as Oliveira Makachev.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
feel
was
like that
thinking
might
of
have
then.
been it.
Yep. Yeah, he looked great in that fight. And yeah. I'm leaning towards Ozdemir on this one. But Johnny Walker, he's I'm not on the Johnny Walker bandwagon, but he's proved me wrong many times. So I know he's a great fighter. I think this is a great matchup, is what it comes down
Oh,
to.
for sure. I think it's just one of those things. Like, is Johnny Walker going to be able to land something crazy? Is he going to be able to land you know, a flying knee? Is he going to be able to land a crazy elbow or something? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's going to win if that doesn't happen. I think Oezdemir, if Oezdemir doesn't get caught with anything wild, I feel like he's the better technical fighter, and I feel like he'll win a decision. But you never know. Johnny Walker could just do enough damage where he keeps Oezdemir hurt the whole time, but not quite finished. I don't know. I kind of don't. That's kind of what I like about this fight. I really don't know how it's going to go.
And I love that they put it as the first fight on the main card. I think it's a perfect
Smart,
first fight.
smart. I really do agree with that. Yeah, there's certain ones that you kind of question, but that's not one of them. I really do like the way they stacked that one.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And now
Man, what a great card.
to wrap up this card, what do you think? Look at the prelims. Is there a dark horse fight that you're looking at, or a couple fighters to watch out for for people that might not know them?
I always love watching Nicholas Dalby fight, and he's an underdog against was it Faragaratinov?
Yeah, I have no idea how to say that. I don't want to butcher it.
I feel like in the middle of the name it could get very like slurish. Like you'd be calling something kind of not nice, Jim. I don't
A
want to
lot
mess
of
up the name
a lot of
and make a double error.
yeah, a lot of
But
Russians on this card too.
much respect. Yeah, no, there really are. You figure I feel like that's a lot to do with Saudi Arabia with
Yeah,
the location and probably where they're training out of. But that's all. Yeah, you figure there's two Russians fighting each other, and you got the main event has a Russian. You have another fight on the main card with a Russian, Shara Bullet, and you got the Renat. I'm going to avoid the last name because I don't want to make an error
yeah,
here. But yeah, no, you're right. But there's also just in that area, I really do like the first fight of the card as well. Um, I've heard about both of these fellas, especially Chang Ho Lee.
yeah.
Seems like someone who gets after it with I feel like that fight has a potential for a stoppage. But yeah, I would say if I was going to pick one fighter on the prelims, Mohammed Naimov. He's a beast.
Oh, I've seen him. I
Um,
think.
yep, he's a beast. I'd probably take him as far as someone to watch, and as far as a fight, Dalby's just he's just one of those guys. I love watching him fight because he's never
Yeah.
out of a fight.
Hmm.
So that's a good one against a very tough matchup. So it's a cool underdog to watch. I mean, Jared Gordon and Nasrat Hakparas. I don't know how to say his last name, but he reminds me of Gaslam's. he could be Gaslam's brother. And if you ask me,
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you said,
That
do you
makes
see him?
sense, yeah. I see him, yeah. He
Right?
looks just like him, yeah.
What is it? Hack Parast?
Yeah, I think you got it, actually. Hakparast.
He's
Nasrat
very,
Hakparast.
he's a good fighter, man. He's fought some, I mean, his last fight, he, it was a
Malarkey.
first round stoppage in Malarkey. So like, yeah, he's a good fighter too. So that's another one because you know Jared Gordon's a beast in his own right. That's a good fight, man. So
Do you see that
this whole
video?
card.
Do you see that video of Jared Gordon that where he protected his family in New York from a guy with a bat?
Wow.
Did you ever
Yeah, I
see
heard
that?
about it. I heard about that one.
It's been running, on the Instagram and whatever, because he's fighting tomorrow. What a badass.
I'll check that out. Shout out to Jared Gordon. What a beast. But no, it's a really good card, man. Even I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but Gafurov.
Okay,
I've
yeah.
seen him fight before. He's a very good fighter. Wow. Okay. I love these cards, man, because it's like just from noon on, I'll be watching. I can't wait for this one. I'm actually looking forward to doing the post one too, because I'm kind of curious because we'll do it right after, so it's gonna be nice, man.
Yeah, it'll be great.
But what about you? Anything jump out to you on the?
No, I think you covered it all. I agree with you. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the main card. Every card on the main card every fight on the main card
Sure.
is
Yep.
excellent, and a lot of the
It's
guys in the
really it really is.
a lot of the guys in the prelims I don't know very well, but like obviously I know Jared Gordon. I feel like I've seen Dalby fight before, and then who
You have.
else looks familiar? Uh, Naimov, I think I've seen fight before, but that's
Yeah,
it.
he's real
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I'm looking
He's real
forward to
good.
it too.
He's
It's gonna
from
be
he's like from Tajikistan. I'm not even. I don't want to even mispronounce it, but it's like very. It's a country where he might be one of the. There's only a couple representatives, and I think the other dude might be on the card with him. I think Gafurov is also from there, but there's only a few different guys from Uzbekistan or Tajikistan or whatever the country they're from. So that's awesome. So
yeah,
it's cool when they show like back home their hometown. It's like it's awesome, dude. Like anytime they show that, I love watch. Like you end up rooting for those guys.
yeah.
Um, but no, it's gonna be a great card, dude. I'm looking forward to it very much. So
Yeah, and obviously we'll be texting throughout the whole thing. I can't wait. It's gonna be because I'm on the West Coast. It's gonna be basically starting right when I wake up. I'm gonna
some
sleep in a
coffee,
little
bro.
bit, get some coffee. Maybe
9
I'll
a.m. first fight.
maybe I'll make a couple eggs, sit down, and watch some fights. It sounds like a great
I'm
morning.
getting I'm getting some steak tips for the fight. I think that's what I'm doing. We're
Dang.
doing a lunch. We're doing lunch. Maybe a couple. Maybe some pies and some fries. But
Ooh.
we're gonna get wild tomorrow. It's gonna be all about food. But I'll send you my picks too. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the post fight right after. It'll be
Yeah.
awesome.
All right. Well, that sounds like good a time as any to end this episode.
Absolutely,
Dan, always good getting your take on these things. Yeah, it's gonna be great morning tomorrow.
I know.
I can't wait. Oh,
I keep saying it, but it's true. I'm just excited.
and
Like,
and then we still have time after to do whatever and hang out for the rest of the Saturday. Like it's good.
still got a whole day ahead of us. It's
Yep.
great.
But
Hell yeah.
anybody listening, thank you for the support. Be sure to share and subscribe and tell people that that are into MMA or even not. Maybe try to get some of your friends into UFC. And tomorrow's good a time as any. It's free on ABC. You can watch it
I
anywhere.
know. Yeah.
So give our pages a follow. We have an Instagram at Pinnacle_combat. And you can find our YouTube channel where you can find all of these podcasts at the same username, youtube.com/Pinnacle_combat. And you can find us on Spotify too, so subscribe there. Yeah, if you're listening, we appreciate you. And, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
Absolutely. Enjoy the fights.
All right, man. Thank you. And we'll talk soon. Peace.
Sounds good, brother. All right, bye.